The House of Representatives has passed a constitutional amendment bill seeking to establish state police as part of effort to tackle Nigeria's security challenges.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today, we are taking a closer look at one of Nigeria's most debated political and security issues, the state police. Is it the solution to the country's growing security challenges? Or could it create new problems that history has warned us about? In this video, we will examine the arguments on both sides, explore what Nigerians' past can teach us, and ask whether state police is a necessary reform or a risky experiment. So, grab your popcorn, settle in, and let's dive into the history, politics, and realities behind the debate. There is a question Nigerians keep asking but never quite answers. Who should control the gun? Not in theory, not in a constitution draft. In the real world, when gunmen block a highway at night, when bandits take school children, when your community burns, who shows up? On June 11, 2026, Nigerian House of Representatives voted 289 to 1. They passed a bill that could reshape the entire structure of law and order in this country. And the debate that follows reveals something much deeper about federalism, about political power, and about who in Nigeria actually holds the force of the state. This is not just a security debate, it is a power debate, and that distinction would define everything that follows. If you are new here, hit subscribe right now. We are the channel that makes politics make sense through history. You will not find this depth anywhere else. Let's get clear on what just happened. For as long as Nigeria has existed as a democracy, policing has been a federal matter. One police force, one command structure, one inspector general of police sitting in Abuja, overseeing roughly 370,000 officers deployed across the country. Of more than 230 million people. Now, think about what that means in practice. A governor watches bandits terrorize community in the state. He calls the state commissioner of police. But here is what most people do not realize. The commissioner does not answer to the governor. He answers to Abuja. That is the fracture these bills try to fix under the new amendment if it survives ratification by the state assemblies. Then, each of the Nigerian 36 states can establish its own police force. Governors will gain the power to appoint state commissioners of police. They could direct operations. They could build forces that speak local languages, non-local geography, and respond to local threats. But here is where the story changes. The same thing that makes a police force effective, local control, is the very thing that makes it dangerous. The debate over state police is not really about police. It is about the oldest question in Nigerian politics: who controls force, and therefore who controls power. But to understand where this leads, we have to go back, way back. Before military rule centralized everything, Nigeria operated a regional policing model. The northern region had its own force. The western region had its own force. So did the eastern region. Policing was local because governance was regional. And here is what happened. Those regional police forces became political weapons During the First Republic, as electoral competition intensified, local police were used to intimidate opponents, suppress protests, and consolidate the power of whoever controlled the region. The Western Region crisis of 1964 to 1965, where a disputed election triggered riots, burning, and civil disorder, revealed exactly how easily local security forces could be turned against the people they were meant to protect. That history never really left the national memory. When military government came, Gowon Murtala Obasanjo, centralization was the answer. One nation, one command structure. Policing moved to the exclusive legislative list and stayed there for nearly 60 years. So, this vote in 2026 is not just legislation. It is Nigeria attempting to reverse a decision made more than half a century ago, under very different circumstances. The question is whether those circumstances have changed enough to make it work this time. The country that centralized policing in 1966 had different fears from the one trying to decentralize it in 2026. But the underlying tension between local power and national unity has never been fully resolved. This is where we pause and ask you directly. Drop in the comments. Do you support state police? Tell us your state and your reasoning. The conversation down here is always worth reading, and if this analysis is adding value for you, the subscribe button is right in front of you. Hit it. Now, let's look at the pattern, because the same story has played out across Africa more than once. A recurring pattern appears whenever societies face security crises they cannot solve at the national level. First comes the demand. Local people say, the central force does not understand us, does not reach us, does not protect us. Then comes the political response. Decentralization is proposed as the solution. And then, quietly, without announcement, comes the risk. Whoever controls the local force starts using it to manage politics, not crime. South Africa's experience is instructive. Provincial police were given significant operational authority. What emerged over time was a patchwork of accountability. Some provinces built strong forces. Others became captured by political networks. The force was as good or as dangerous as the government running it. Nigeria's own history or recent history adds another layer. Amotekun in the southwest and the civilian joint task force in the northeast already show us that local security structure exists informally without constitutional recognition. The question now is whether formalizing them creates accountability or simply moves the problem upstream. Decentralization solves the responsiveness problem. It does not solve the accountability problem. And in Nigeria's political environment, accountability is precisely the hard part. Here is what this really reveals. The state police debate is a window into a much larger question that Nigeria democracy has never fully resolved. How much authority should a governor actually hold? In a federal system, the governor is ideally the executive of his state. But for 60 years, he had zero operational control over the police on his own soil. Zero. That is an extraordinary gap, and it helps explain why security responses have been so fragmented and so slow. But there is a reason that gap was put there. Nigeria has 36 governors. Some are Democrats, some are not. Some will build a professional force, and some, you can judge for yourself, might use that force the way it was used in 1965. There is a breakdown of the bill as passed, including real safeguards. Commissioners require confirmation from State House of Assembly. Federal police can only intervene in total breakdown. Disputed directive goes to the National Police Council. These are serious provisions on paper. What makes them work is political culture, and political culture in Nigeria is still a work in progress. This decision will not be judged in 2026. It will be judged in 2030, 2032, when the first state police force is deployed ahead of a governorship election. The debate is no longer about whether state police should exist. The debate now shifts to something far more important. What happens when theory meets reality? Because on paper, every reform looks promising. In practice, history has shown that outcomes are hardly so predictable. So, let's examine the three most likely situations that could emerge if state police becomes part of Nigerian security design. Scenario 1. In the best case scenario, states with strong leadership and effective institutions build professional police forces that understand their local communities. Officers know the terrain, speaks the local language, and can respond to threats much faster. Intelligence gathering improves, trust grows between residents and law enforcement, and communities that previously felt neglected receive better protection. In this scenario, state police delivers on its promise. Security that is closer to the people and better suited to Nigerian diverse realities. Scenario 2. Some states may implement state police successfully. They may have the money, the institutions, and the capacity to recruit, train, and equip their officers. But other states may struggle. Limited budgets and weaker institutions could make it difficult to build and maintain an effective police force. And as a result, security improves in some parts of the country while remaining largely unchanged in others. The reform still happens, but its benefits are not felt equally across Nigeria. Scenario 3. A governor facing a credible political opponent uses state police to harass, intimidate, or detain. The National Police Council intervenes or fails to. Federal and state police find themselves at operational odds in the same territory. What was sold as a security solution becomes a flashpoint for constitutional crisis. Which scenario plays out depends entirely on what comes next. How state assembly rectify, how enabling legislation is designed, and whether the political class treats this as a tool for governance or a tool for power. History suggests the answer will be both at the same time in different states. So, which of these futures is most likely? The honest answer is that no one knows. Nigerian political history teaches us that institutions rarely succeed or fail because of their intentions alone. They succeed or fail because of how they are designed, funded, supervised, and ultimately used by those in power. That is why the state police debate offers lessons that go far beyond security. It offers lessons about leadership, lessons about governance, and lessons about the relationship between power and accountability. Whether you are a policymaker, a student of politics, or an emerging leader, there are important insights hidden within this moment. Here are 5 lessons that stand out, and we must learn this from this debate. Lesson 1. Institutional design matters more than the idea behind it. State police is a sound concept in the right institutional environment. Whether Nigeria's environment is ready depends on what safeguards are built into the enabling legislation, not just into the constitution. Lesson 2. Past failures are political data. The First Republic regional police experience is not ancient history. It is a direct instruction manual for what to avoid. Leaders who ignore historical failure are not bold, they are uninformed. Lesson 3. Accountability must precede authority. Giving governors the power to appoint commissioners without robust confirmation and removal mechanism is like giving someone a loaded gun before teaching them the safety rules. Lesson 4. Reforms without funding is a press release. States like Zamfara, Sokoto, or Yobe, which need police reform most urgently, are also the states with the least physical capacity to build a new force. Federal allocation design must accompany the constitutional change, or the reform will remain cosmetic. Lesson 5. Timing is a political tool. This bill passed less than a year before the 2027 election cycle intensifies. Leaders who can read the timing of institutional reforms understand one thing clearly: the best time to entrench good governance is when the public pressure is genuine. The worst time to grant power without safeguards is just before an election. And perhaps that is the biggest lesson of all. Political decisions are rarely judged on the day they are made. They are judged years later, when their consequences began to shape the lives of ordinary citizens. The debate over state police is not just about security policy. It's about the kind of federation Nigeria wants to become, and the kind of institution it is willing to trust with power. History will not measure this reform by the speeches made in support of it or against it. History will measure it by the results. And with that in mind, let's step back and consider the significance of what has just happened. Nigeria just took the most consequential step in its security design in over half a century. It did not do so quietly. It did so in the open, in a constitutional chamber, with 289 hands raised. What comes next is the harder work, because a constitutional amendment is a promise. Keeping it requires something real than legislation. It requires institutions that are stronger than the ambitions of the people running them. The history of policing in Nigeria teaches us one thing above all else: who controls the gun is never just a security question. It is always a question about power. To understand today's politics, you must understand its history. This is where politics meets history. If this video helped you see something more clearly, then subscribe, share it with someone who needs the context, and drop your take in the comment below. I read every comment. This is the Pivot Report. Thank you for hooking up. Thank you for engaging with this video. Thank you for staying. I see you in the next video. Till then, bye.